So I don't know if it's just me, but basically whenever I look up Training Day on movie websites or movie pages on Instagram, I'm starting to see a lot of people saying that Denzel Washington's performance is overrated. And I'm starting to see that that's like the new norm now. And I don't know if it's just me. However, if that's the new norm, then I'm definitely outside of it. I think he deserved that Oscar. But is Training Day still worth a watch today? Hey everyone, my name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic, and on this channel it's my job to point you in the direction of movies worth checking out. So if that interests you, make sure you hit like and subscribe, and today I'm here to tell you if Training Day is still worth a watch. So in Training Day we have Jake Hoyt, played by Ethan Hawke, and he's a former high school football star turned father and LAPD officer. He is assigned for evaluation for the LAPD Narcotics Division by Detective Alonzo Harris, played by Denzel Washington, and he is taken for a hands-on job interview in the world of undercover narcotics investigation. However, after Jake refuses to smoke some weed that they confiscated from some teenagers, and Alonzo pulls out a gun on him and proclaims,
"If I was a dealer, you'd be dead by now, motherfucker. You turn shit down on the street, and the chief brings your wife a crisply folded flag. What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Jake then realizes that Alonzo's methods are anything but orthodox and may even be corrupt. And that's all I'm gonna say for the story. I really do think for this movie, you should go in almost completely blind. That's all you need to know about the story, because this one really takes you through some twists and turns. This is an intense roller coaster ride, and it is definitely worth a watch today. Training Day is one of my all-time favorites. All-time favorites. I don't know how far up it ranks in terms of top 10 or top 15, but it's up there for sure. And one thing I always say to people who've never seen this movie and, maybe think that this is not the movie for them, they're like, I don't really like cop movies. This movie just never takes its foot off the gas, right? Every single scene is so intense in its own unique way, and it just doesn't stop. And right until the end, my friends are telling me, Brandon, I'm so thankful that you showed me Training Day, but I just wish I was able to see it again. I was able to see it again for the first time. Because that first viewing, you had no idea what was happening, you had no idea where the story was gonna go, and you were so invested. And you may be confused, you may be uncomfortable of just what is actually happening in the story. It's not confusing like, who's this character, what's happening, but just the amount of intensity that Jake Hoyt is having to go through on this job interview, it's something really hard to explain. You just gotta watch the movie to see what I mean. And because of that, it has this ability just to grip you and just to hold on and never let go. As soon as this movie starts, you don't want to stop watching it. You're just actively, your eyes are just glued to the screen. And this movie takes place all in one day. That alone, and knowing that, makes this film even more intense. You definitely feel the sense of urgency, the sense of realism, the sense of groundedness. And I'll talk about the fact that they shot in some of these locations in Los Angeles in a bit, but this is a very grounded, real, raw movie. And it puts us at unease because most of the cop movies we've seen, or cop shows like Miami Vice or something, the cops are the good guys, and there's no question about it. But here, it really challenges questions of justice, what's good, what's moral, and you're jumping into an unknown world of the corrupt cop world. And it's not so black and white, there's just one giant slate of gray. And to take us through this world are two great characters, Alonzo Harris and Jake Hoyt. So let's start with Alonzo. Denzel Washington, I think, definitely deserved this Oscar. I think it's one of the best performances I have ever seen. Yes, that's a hot take, but I really do believe that. And yes, of course, Russell Crowe that year, I get it, but Alonzo Harris is a great character because you hate him. You hate this character. He treats Jake Hoyt like absolute garbage, at least you think so. And then throughout the movie, you're like, I'm kind of warming up to this guy. I don't know what it is. There's one part of me that says I hate him, and I'm really, really uncomfortable around his presence, but yet I find him so endearing, right? He is so smooth, so alpha, and just, he knows what to do. He knows that he needs to get the job done, and he's gonna do whatever it takes to get it done. And you kind of want to be on his side. You know that if you start to do things that he wants, and of course go against the grain of what the LAPD and the system wants, is that the moral, just thing to do? And Denzel Washington is just rock solid in his conviction. I really do believe that the best bad guys truly believe that they are the good guys. That is Denzel Washington in this movie. And opposite of him is Ethan Hawke as Jake Hoyt. And obviously when you have Alonzo Harris being that corrupt cop and those unorthodox ways, you need someone to contrast that. And Ethan Hawke is great in this movie. He was also nominated for an Oscar. He didn't win it. But he brings that vulnerable side that we're able to identify with, but he has that look in his eyes. He's seen some stuff. And you can tell that he's kind of moving towards Alonzo's side here. You know, he knows that things are a bit immoral and unjust the way that he's doing things, but he wants to be a detective, right? He wants that money. He wants that fame of the LAPD, you know, being a detective. Of course, you know, he's just a recent father with a new wife. He wants to provide for his family. He wants that American dream, but is the American dream that he knows, is it really what he expects? Is this the way that things ought to be? Is this the road he has to go down to become what he needs to be for his family? And you can see there are some scenes where he jumps back and forth where he's like, I know this is wrong, but is it all worth it in the ends? Do the ends justify the means? And of course, he does have that vulnerability side, so you're able to identify with him, but you're able to identify with him because you start to think, if you start to bend the rules just to fit your lifestyle and to fit your wants and needs, well then how far do you go? And are you able to stop? So not only is this film extremely entertaining, but it's extremely thought-provoking, and it's extremely intense. All these things are happening all at the same time. You don't want to let go. You can't change the channel. This movie requires all of your attention, and it has the ability where you're just able to surrender to it. And of course, this movie takes place in Los Angeles, and I really did feel like Los Angeles was a jungle. I've been there a couple times, right? And of course, I have been outside of, you know, Santa Monica and Disneyland and Hollywood and stuff, and I have driven through some of these streets. And I won't say I'm an expert on the city, but you know, looking at interviews and stuff, and when you find out that they shot in some of these places that cameras just never went to before, and they actually had gang members as extras, it just makes the movie feel that much more real and grounded, knowing that these are real people in these real communities, and this story is taking place there. It makes the movie feel even more grounded and raw and gritty and real and intense. You really do feel like there's trouble around every single corner, and you feel a little bit at unease, and you feel that. You can't deny that you really feel that, and because of that, you feel for Jake even more in this crazy, corrupt cop world in a jungle like this. You know, I had to study this movie quite a bit in film school as I had to do an essay about films kind of tackling the American dream, and this is a movie that really does that. And just as an average moviegoer, you know, this movie, again, like I said in the beginning, it does not take its foot off the gas. Once the movie starts, it will not stop. And it's a thrill ride that I can go on again and again and again. I give Training Day a 5 out of 5. I truly love this movie. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, Brandon, you're always talking about uplifting movies and movies that, you know, really lift your spirits and make you feel good about yourself. Sometimes you need to face the unknown. Sometimes you need to look right in darkness's eyes and say hello. Training Day is a good movie to do that. Anyways, guys, tell me down in the comment section down below, what is your favorite LAPD cop movie? What's your favorite David Ayer movie? Anything like that. Something that takes place in the streets of LA. And if you're new here and you want to see more videos just like this, definitely hit like and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Take care.